Spider-Man, Spider-Man, does whatever a spider can. Spins a web any size, catches thieves just like flies.
Hello! And this is Louis Loudmouth! And today I'm reviewing Stanley!
Hello, Louis Loudmouth Katowski. I'd
Hi!
like to introduce you to my assistant. This is Peter Parker. Would you like to go get us something to drink?
Okay.
Thank you.
When were you born?
I was born December 28, 1922.
Guys, look out! Here comes the Spider-Man. Is he strong?
Is Stanley your real name?
My real name is Stanley Martin Lieber. I changed it when I started writing, because it just sounded better.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in New York City, and that's where most of my stories take place.
What did you like to do as a kid?
I enjoyed reading, drawing pictures, and I loved going to movies.
What were your first jobs?
I grew up during the Great Depression. I had to do whatever I could to make money to support my family. When I was a little boy, I worked in the usher in a movie theater. I once escorted First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt to her seat. I sold subscriptions to the New York Times and worked as an actor. I delivered sandwich and worked in an office boy.
Listen, bud, he's got radioactive blood. Can he swing from a thread? Take
Thank you, my young Peter. Remember, I've always told you with great power comes great responsibility.
When did you realize you're a talented writer?
I entered a contest when I was a boy where I had to write the biggest news of the week. I won the contest 3 weeks in a row. They told me they asked me to quit entering the contest. That's how I knew I was such a talented writer.
When did you get your first job writing comic books?
I got my first job at a company named Western Fiction Publishing. My first comic book story was Captain America Foils the Traitor's Revenge in 1941, found in Captain America comic book number 3. I've written all kinds of stories. I've written westerns, mysteries, science fictions, horror, and even love stories.
a look overhead. Hey there goes the Spider-Man.
Is it true you're in the army?
Yes, I enlisted in the Army in 1942 and was honorably discharged from the Army in 1945. Even while I was in the Army, I produced hundreds of Army flyers, films, posters, and even comic books.
In the chill of night, at the scene of a crime, like a street.
Are you married?
Of course, in 1947 I married a beautiful model named Joan Bucott.
Were you always happy writing comic books?
Well, the 1940s and 50s, people called the golden age of comic books. But parents were concerned that the comic books were ruining the children. I did not like the way that people reacted about my comic books, and I was embarrassed to tell people I was a comic book writer. And there was a time where I thought about moving on from the industry.
Was there a controversy over your comic books?
In 1971, the government asked me to publish from anti-drug comic books. I wrote a 3-part series where Spider-Man had a friend who overdosed on some drugs. The Comic Books Code Authority would not let me did not want me to publish the comic book or would not approve of it. But I decided to publish the comic book anyways because the government had asked me to do it. Ever since then, the code was changed, and now comic books are allowed to have anti-drug messages in them.
When did your fame really begin to soar?
After after the creation of Spider-Man. Some other characters follow were Fantastic Four, the Hulk, and the X-Men. All of these characters helped my career soar.
If you are not successful at writing comic books, what would you have done with your life?
My real dream was to be an actor.
I heard in the 90s that the comic book industry was having a hard time making comics. Was that tough for you?
Well, in the 1990s, the comic book industry was really tough. Marvel was suffering and had to file for bankruptcy in 1998. But in 2000, the 20th Century Fox released the movie X-Men, which then the comic book industry started to come back alive. In 2002, Columbia Pictures released Spider-Man. In 2003, they released the Hulk. In 2004, they released Daredevil and Spider-Man 2, which won an Oscar for great special effects. With all these popular movies, I am richer than a small country once again. My characters are super popular with kids. Kids fell in love with the comic book characters.
He arrives just in time. Spider-Man, Spider-Man, friendly neighborhood.
I'm so rich, I can afford an assistant. Named Peter Parker.
Stan! Could you tell who your favorite Marvel person you made was?
Well, I'll admit it, it's Spider-Man.
Cut! That's a wrap, guys. Call it a day.
DC Comics rocks!
No, Louie Loudmouth, I really don't appreciate you screaming in my face anymore. Peter Parker, take care of him.
Oh, you're gonna give me some water?
He arrives just in time. Spider-Man, Spider-Man, friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Wealth and fame, he's ignored. Action is his reward to him. Life is a great big hang-up. Wherever there's a hang-up, you'll find a Spider-Man.